Hey everybody, Pastor Jeff here. I'm here with Kerri McLeod. As many of you know, Kerri is our Daycare Director, as well as our new Director of Children's Education, I guess, is what we would call it. She holds many hats here. Many of you know that an announcement went out a while back where we were doing some shifting within the staffing and the needs, the roles that the staff all play. And that Pastor Andrew has shifted into the online church platforms and the sort of Sunday experience, working with the tech teams and all of that kind of stuff. And that, because of that need, created a need for someone to take over the children's ministry. And Kerri has been our daycare director for several years now. She's the one who helped establish the daycare and get it licensed and so on. And as we looked at how the daycare functions, we thought to ourselves, we'd really like to see that philosophy of learning shift into our Sunday school and our children's ministries and our way of resourcing parents and families and things like that. And so it was really evident to us that it would just make sense to get Kerri to oversee all of how children learn in our church, because the daycare is just a part of the children education wing of the church. It's not a separate entity. It's just part of how we work with kids here at Evergreen. And so it made sense to us at leadership and the board to just shift Kerri into that role and to hire an assistant director at the daycare. And so Kerri's in this fresh new role, and we've been working she's been working hard with her team to develop a new way of doing children's ministry. And so first, Kerri, could you explain a little bit of what you ECEs, now Kerri's an early childhood educator, of how the daycare actually is structured in how a child goes about learning?
Yeah, for sure. One of the main things that we learn as educators is that there are 4 foundations of learning. Well-being, belonging, engagement, and expression. And when you have all those 4 things while you're working with children, learning naturally happens. If a child feels secure and cared for, you can move on to, they feel like they belong in the family or in the classroom, and then you get them engaged, you get them actually working and playing with things, which then creates expression. So they're able to express what they've learned, express what they're processing, and all of that together is a really healthy and holistic way of learning. And that is our foundation of teaching in the daycare. And we would love to be able to continue that on throughout the church part or Sunday school part of children's education.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not an ECE or anything like that, but I am part of educating people. Yeah. And it makes sense that those 4 foundations of learning should be actually a part of our entire church.
Absolutely.
And how all our young people learn.
And it's not just for young children, though. It's for adults as well. It's the same thing. It's progressive.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things actually in this process of thinking through what all of this could look like is that we noticed actually a disconnect, so to speak, where from the front on a Sunday morning, myself and Pastor Tamil have really been pressing into encouraging engagement. People engaging with Christ and engaging with our community versus actually just being a consumer, being somebody that sits in a chair and sort of watches the so-called professionals entertaining them, essentially. Yeah. And so one of the things that we noticed as we were pondering some of this is that in many ways the model of children's ministry that everybody uses, right? I mean, we were doing children's ministry the way everybody does children's ministry, and Pastor Tamil, when she was doing it, and Pastor Andrew, when he was doing it, did a great job. But really, in a lot of ways, with the use of the video technology and televisions and all the different things that we use today, as wonderful as those things are, they actually are creating exactly what we've been battling against, a lack of engagement, and a consumeristic posture. And so based on these 4 foundations of learning, and then our sort of realization of we don't want to create a consumeristic next generation where the church struggles with lack of engagement and just a feed me kind of mentality. Kerri has been working with her team on some ways to actually change this. We want our young people to become biblically literate. We want them to learn the Bible, to not just memorize scripture, but to actually learn to live the Bible, to learn to interact with the Bible, and to learn to be in an actual relationship with Jesus Christ. So that our next generation doesn't have some of the struggles that our current generation actually does. And so could you share a little bit with us of sort of some of the things that you guys have come up with of how we're going to move forward in our children's ministry?
We're kind of excited, but also really nervous. But what we really want to do, bottom line, is equip families to be able to disciple their children.
Because that's where discipleship happens,
Absolutely.
Right? Discipleship happens more at home.
And in our current environment, we have no choice. Discipleship is only happening at home. It's not at church. It's not at Sunday school because we can't have them here. So we really want to focus on families and equipping caregivers to be able to disciple their children.
And grandchildren.
Whoever cares for the child. We want to be able to equip you with being able to develop your child's relationship with Jesus. So what we're thinking is that we would like to provide you as families with a kind of like a toolkit for each month of what we're going to be working on in the church and what you're going to work on with your child. It's going to be progressive. We're going to start 1 phase at a time. There's going to be 3 phases. And we're going to literally give you resources, an actual kind of like box or package that we're going to provide you with. So that's going to give you information of why we're doing what we're doing, the supplies that you need to do what you want to do, and just some more guidance on how to disciple your child. This is definitely way more interactive and a lot more work on your part as parents and caregivers. But bottom line, they're with you and they can't come see us. And so we want to continue to provide you with the knowledge and the encouragement that you can do this.
Yeah, because one of the things that we observed as well is that in the Western church, we tend to bring the kids in. We let them stay for a few songs if we're really, a progressive church with children. And then we send them off to do their own thing. And in actuality, that actually separation of the different generations is actually somewhat detrimental. I understand that kids need to learn in their own ways and things like that, but there is actually ways that the kids can engage in a Sunday service. And especially with service being online and no children's programs running at the church, there's actually things that kids could be doing with mom and dad as everyone is engaging in the service itself.
Yeah, exactly. So our first phase is we're going to provide you with opportunities and resources of what you're going to do with your kids during the actual music part. This is worship is a time to prepare your heart and orient your heart to hear God's message, which is the second phase. And so for our first kind of phase or implementation is we're going to focus on worship. And so what you can do with your child during the music part of our online service. That's our beginning part. But it's really to encourage engagement and to show kids that you can worship during dancing. You can worship playing a pot. You can worship drawing. It's so wide, and every child and every adult is so different. So it's not always you only can worship by singing. That's the only way. There's so many different ways, and we want to really cultivate that in your family.
Yeah, worship is actually about engagement.
Oh my goodness.
But not engagement necessarily with one another, but engagement with Christ. And we're worshiping Him, we're exalting Him, we're lifting Him up. And we're singing praise, we're dancing praise, so there's things that the kids could be doing because we actually have a responsibility, not just the church, but the church, meaning the people, the parents, the leaders, all of us have this responsibility to actually teach the next generation all about worship.
Yes.
So here's the challenging thing, and this is the thing that I want our folks to understand. As you guys are resourcing them with things that they can do with the kids, based on these 4 foundations of learning and all of that kind of stuff, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, caregivers of any sort, you need to engage.
Yes.
Your kids watch exactly what you do. And so if you're like saying to little Johnny, sit here and you're going to do this craft and then you're going to sing and so on, and you're off in the kitchen making toast or making your coffee during the worship time, which we're all guilty of doing, like that's what little Johnny sees. Yeah. And so his mind is thinking, well, I'll do this for mom and dad out of obedience to them because they've asked me to do it, but they're showing me that worship doesn't matter to them.
Role modeling is huge, and is actually the main way of showing children how to live. And so if you're actually not living what you're saying, it's kind of empty. Yeah.
So these activities, these things that you guys give to families in this box that they can, we'll tell everybody how to access this soon. But essentially, it's like for everybody to engage in.
It's for the whole family. It's not just for the children. It's for the whole family.
Yeah, because that's how discipleship happens.
Absolutely, you're going to grow together.
Yeah. In Scripture, actually, Jesus models that. The whole concept of a disciple was that they would take on the posture of their rabbi. They would literally follow right behind him and do everything that he did. It was leading by example, and that's how discipleship is actually done in the home, is leading by example. Is there anything else you want to share with how some of that is going to happen? Could you maybe explain how they would access this, when it's going to start, all of that? For sure.
Tamil's edited our website a little bit, and under our family section, there's going to be a spot for you to register. We really want you to register so we know who wants to engage. We cannot actually provide these resources unless we know who wants them and how to get them to you, because it's not like we're just sending out an e-thing that, like an electronic thing that people can just access, which we will as well, but we want to send out tangible things. So we need to know how many we're going to be preparing for, who's going to be picking this up, or are we delivering it to you, which we're willing to do. We want to connect with you the best that we can in these times. So we need you to go to the website and register. That's what we need you to do.
Yeah, and
the rest will come.
I'll put the website address. It's evergreenheights.org. I'll put the actual link at the bottom of the screen. It'll come up for everybody. So let me, just to clarify.
Yes.
We're no longer going to be placing our kids in front of screens.
No.
As a church. So the things that the church provides, you can do that. They can go on our website, and the link to the Life Church curriculum is there. And you're more than welcome to use that curriculum if you so choose.
We also have subscription to Right Now Media, and that has great Christian children's content. So if you want to access that, you can let us know, and we'll get you connected to that. We just, as children educators for Sunday school, we're not emphasizing that.
So we're going to pull away from screens because actually
it's not the best.
If you Google it, it's not the best thing. It's not the best way for our kids to learn.
No.
And family engagement, modeling this is actually the best way. And that's biblical. Important. That goes right back to the beginning. And so we're going to pull away from screens. We're not going to be having videos. We do offer it, but we're not producing them ourselves.
Correct.
We're going to start with the first phase, where we're going to give resources for what kids could be doing to participate in the worship section of the Sunday service. And then progressively, we're going to move into the next phase, which is during the message itself. And these are all ways for the kids to engage with their family in a Sunday service together.
Absolutely,
So specifically during coronavirus, especially where everything is online. And a new model of all of this will be rolling out as the church opens in time. Now the church will actually be bringing in people, just like we announced in the early fall. I believe November 8th, we're going to be bringing in 30 people where they can pre-register online. There'll be an announcement next week coming about explaining all of that, but there won't be any children's ministry available at that either. And so are you going to provide the same kind of thing?
Yes.
To the family? So if a family comes to the church, registers and comes, they're going to get to do the same thing.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to roll out the same thing as what you would do at home, but more geared for actually being in the service, because we can't pull them out and educate them in a different room. So yeah, there definitely will be resources here on the Sunday. If you register your family ahead of time, we can prepare for that. But yeah, there will be something here for children to do if you do decide to come and be part of our small group on a Sunday.
Yeah. So when is the registration for signing up for getting these kits? When is all of that going to roll out? Is that kind of progressive over the next week or so?
We would love for everybody to register as of, I think we're going to have the registration link open no later than Sunday. And if you can start registering your families that way, that would be awesome. Once you're registered, we're going to have further communication, and that will provide you with more specific dates and specific information on how to get our packages.
Yeah. I'm super excited about this because when I study scripture, this is what I see.
Yeah.
This is how I see how the Jews educated their kids. Their school was saturated in educating them in the Torah, but ultimately it was led by families. They had to
intergenerational.
So they had rabbis and things that would help with this, but ultimately in order to memorize the Torah, which is what they did, you had to work on that at home. And families had to engage with it, and they had all kinds of neat family things that they would do together. That's where discipleship happens. It happens in the home. And so the best thing that we can do as a church is provide you at home the resources to be able to interact with your kids and teach them about Jesus, teach them about worship, teach them about scripture, and teach them that Pastor Jeff might be boring, but we can find something constructive to do while he's speaking. And so we're pretty excited about this, to resource families to begin this process, and we're super blessed at this church to have a lot of gifted people that have a lot of great ideas. And so your team is going to continue to work on that. But this is definitely a shift.
It's a huge shift, and it's kind of scary. But we feel very at peace with it. And so let's move on.
I don't think it's scary. I think it actually makes sense. How does a child learn? And let's incorporate the best ways that a child learns. And I feel that's our responsibility as the church, as leaders in the church, to make sure that we're lifting up the next generation to be in a relationship with Jesus, to have that foundation needed to weather some of the difficulties of our world. And so I'm excited because I think that is the corner we're going to turn. And so, folks, I hope that you families, anybody with kids that's caring for anybody, I hope that you will go online and that you'll sign up, and then Kerri's team will be in contact with you guys. If you have any questions, Kerri is here at the church most of the week, actually all week. And so she would be available to answer any of your questions. But we're super excited about this, and I ask that you be patient with us as we roll it out. But we are really excited, and we're really convinced that this is the right direction to go. There's been a lot of prayer and a lot of thought that's gone into this. And so thank you, Kerri, for sharing this exciting announcement of where we're heading in the children's ministry moving forward during COVID. And then when we emerge from COVID, out of the ashes, we will
rise.
We will then have a new model that you'll have a team of people working with. And so I'm excited. So thank you very much for joining us, Kerri. And thank you, everybody, for being patient with us. And I hope that you will engage in our children's ministry model.
Thank you.